What's going on, guys? JSGC here, and we are here for another Manchester City video. Today we're going to be doing a Manchester City transfer update, where over the last couple of weeks we've had some pretty big stories coming out. So we're going to dive right in with that in just one moment. But before I do crack on with this video, make sure, like always, if you are enjoying the content, do subscribe to my channel. It is free to subscribe. Also, don't forget social media links, they're in the description. If you want to go and follow me on my Twitter, Instagram and TikTok, email also in the description too. If you want to hit me up for any sponsorship for any videos or any general business inquiries, don't forget to leave a thumbs up. 200 likes is the aim. Do let me know your thoughts as well in the comments below. And finally, I want to say a big thank you to today's video sponsor, which is brought to you by Sofascore. They're going to keep you guys up to date every single step of the way with all the latest scores across the board in football. Going to keep you up to date with all the latest match information, team news, match statistics, analysis, and all your good footballing needs, all in one place, all in one app. Highly rated app. It's free to download, so worthwhile checking out. And anyone that does download Sofascore using my link in the description does help to support the future content created here on my channel. Oh, did I mention it's not just limited to football, but all the sports that you guys love to follow, all in one place with all the latest scores. So let's crack on with this video. We've got no contract news, so we're going to dive straight on in with the outs, and we've got the very latest on Joel Ndala. Now, David Ornstein had said that Ndala had completed his medical at PSV Eindhoven over in the Netherlands. Loan deal agreed with easy to achieve purchase option, which is an obligation to buy. It's believed the deal is worth €7 million, which could rise to as much as €10 million with a buyback clause and sell-on fee included on this deal, and that has now been made official. So Joel Ndala is a PSV Eindhoven player on loan for the season with that obligation to buy with easy to achieve purchase options with a buyback and sell-on clause included. So I wanted to wish Joel the very best of luck at PSV Eindhoven and the best of luck for the future as well. Now, moving on, we've got the latest on Issa Kabore, and you'll have noticed that he's no longer in the Manchester City match squad, and that's because he's left Manchester City on a season-long loan. He's signed for Benfica over in Portugal. That is official, and Fabrizio Romano has confirmed that there is no purchase option included. It is a straight loan for the season for Issa Kabore, so wishing him the very best of luck there at Benfica in Portugal. Now, moving on, we've got the latest on Mateo Kovacic, and James Benge has said that Al Nassr wanted to make a move for Kovacic on transfer deadline day, but they couldn't clear enough squad space for them to make a move for Kovacic. So they have overseas rulings over in Saudi Arabia. They had to clear an overseas player out for them to be able to make a move for Kovacic, and it's believed that because they've not made it happen this summer, that they may be interested in making that happen in the January transfer window. It's believed, I'm not sure how reliable this is, but it's believed that Saudi Arabian clubs were willing to offer Kovacic €1 million a week in wages to bring him to Saudi Arabia, and that to me is absolutely insane amounts of money. Now, Pete O'Rourke has confirmed that Manchester City want to keep Kovacic, and the plan is that they will not sell Kovacic in January to Al Nassr, to any other Saudi Arabian football teams, or to anybody else for that matter, despite the interest coming in for Kova. So there we are. Now, moving on, we've got the latest on Rodri, and as I've been reporting a couple of weeks ago, interest is strong from Real Madrid, as confirmed by AS over in Spain, who aren't the most reliable of sources, but what they're reporting on I believe to be true. Real Madrid do want to sign Rodri next summer. Project 2025 for Rodri to sign for them is in place. He's the player that Real Madrid want more than anybody else, and a lot here comes down to, can Manchester City get Rodri on a new contract? Because if he doesn't sign a new deal, I can see potentially Rodri leaving Manchester City next summer, because he just doesn't have that long left on his contract. I'm talking here that he has 3 years left of his contract right now. By the time it gets to next summer, that'll be 2 years left on his contract, and if he doesn't sign a new deal, Real Madrid will be rubbing their hands knowing that they're not going to have to spend spend ridiculous amounts of money to bring Rodri in. It'll be a very high number, of course, if they do sign him. 2 years of Rodri, to me, for Manchester City, is still going to be worth, I'd imagine, somewhere between 100 to 200 million pounds. If I was City and he doesn't sign a new deal, I'd be pushing for the bigger latter number rather than the 100 million pounds, if I was just to chuck some numbers out there. But we're looking here at one of the best players in the world, certainly the best defensive midfielder in the world, one of the best European players available, and one of the favourites to win the Ballon d'Or, which makes him the world's best football player. And if you want to sign the world's best football player from a club that doesn't need to sell him, then you're going to have to pay big money to make that happen. Now, if we could get him on a new deal, it ends all speculation around his future. He'll be a Manchester City player for years to come. And I think that in this off-season for the transfers, I would be looking for City not only to secure the future of Rodri here, but to secure the future of Pep Guardiola as well. I'd say they're the two biggest question marks we've got around the current Manchester City squad in terms of players and coaches. Get them two sorted, and all of a sudden Manchester City look much more in terms of their longevity, and also in terms of long-term contracts, look much more better in place, and they look stronger with having these players and coaches committed to City for a longer period of time. And that has to be the priority ahead of selling players, ahead of making money, ahead of bringing players in. You've got to keep hold of the very best that we've got. There is no upgrade on Rodri, which means we'd be downgrading. There is no upgrade on Pep Guardiola, which means we would be downgrading. Downgrading leads to Manchester City being caught up by everybody else. And selling someone like Rodri to Real Madrid, one of our European rivals, just doesn't make sense. So to me, I'd put a piece of paper in front of Rodri, and I'd say, what number are you happy with to be paid by Manchester City? And I'd pay it. If that means putting him on a wage that's very similar to Erling Haaland, then so be it. He wins that Ballon d'Or later in the year, then all of a sudden Manchester City are in a position where, you know, you can't really negotiate with the best player in the world. You've just got to make him one of the best highly paid players in Europe. It's just how it's going to be. And, you know, it's brilliant to have the best player in the world in your squad, but it comes at a financial cost for the club. But City are always better having Rodri here than not having Rodri here, and that to me has to be the focus when it comes to players in this transfer off-season for Manchester City. Now, moving on to the ins, got the very latest on youngster Xavier Parker, and Fabrizio Romano has confirmed that Manchester City have now completed the transfer of Xavier Parker into their academy. He signs from West Ham's academy, so to wish Xavier the very best of luck at Manchester City, and also a warm welcome to the better blue side of Manchester. Now, moving on, got the latest on Adam Wharton, and the Daily Mail have said that Manchester City are among a number of Premier League teams that are following and scouting Adam Wharton at Crystal Palace this season. Manchester City are believed to be interested in bringing in a Rodri alternative, or a player that can complement Rodri, and bringing someone like Wharton in would make sense. I'm hoping that it's going to be a player that's complementing Rodri and helping us to alternate with him rather than a Rodri replacement, but Adam Wharton is of interest to Manchester City. And speaking of Crystal Palace players that are of interest to Manchester City, takes us nicely onto an update on Marc Guehi, and Daily Mail have confirmed that Manchester City are also keeping tabs on Marc Guehi over at Crystal Palace after his failed move to Newcastle United this summer. So if City do want to make a move for a younger centre-back, then he would be the option, as we've got a lot of experienced centre-backs at City, but they're all pushing now into the late 20s and into their 30s. So if City do want to bring that average age of their squad down, then keeping an eye on some of the best upcoming homegrown talents in the Premier League, players like Marc Guehi and players like Adam Wharton, then it would make sense. And Crystal Palace do normally negotiate a good deal, an affordable deal, so I can believe City to be interested. Whether City choose to pursue that any further from interest remains to be seen. Now, moving on to the final transfer, very interesting this, takes us on to an update on Jamal Musiala. We've had updates coming in from both Bild and from Fabrizio Romano. So Bild over in Germany have confirmed that Pep Guardiola and Manchester City are interested in Jamal Musiala signing for Manchester City, and the word coming in from Germany is they believe that because Musiala was born in England, has close ties to England, that a return to England and a move to the Premier League would really appeal to him, certainly for next summer. They say that with him not being in the nominations for the Ballon d'Or this year, it feels like maybe a move away from Bayern Bayern Munich would be best for the individual part of his career, and a move to the Premier League would make sense. A move into one of the biggest and best teams in the Premier League would be of interest to Jamal Musiala. Now, Man City won't be the only team interested in Musiala. It's already been confirmed by Fabrizio Romano that it's great to have reliability, that City are definitely interested in Musiala, but there are other clubs interested in him as well. And I imagine all the big six teams in the Premier League, should they hear word that Bayern Munich would be selling Musiala, would be interested in signing him. And I imagine that the big Spanish teams and PSG and everybody else around the world will be interested in signing Musiala as well. And I think a lot here comes down to what do Manchester City want to do with their midfield. Where does the future of Kevin De Bruyne lie? What's going to happen with Bernardo Silva? In the long term, what do they want to do with Phil Foden? How do they fit Matheus Nunes into their midfield? There's question marks to be sorted here before Man City would want to sanction a move for Musiala. We have done similar transfers to this before, by the way, where we've won races to sign players that are hot in demand, Erling Haaland being one of them. That was not too complicated because he had a buyback clause. Musiala doesn't have a buyback clause as far as I'm aware at Bayern Munich. It would have to be a negotiated price. I believe that Bayern Munich would probably want to sell to the highest bidder, so it would be a very expensive transfer. But with Man City spending very little money this summer and making great money on their net spend, and I imagine the profits will be at a record high next summer, if City don't want to do too much business and they can tie lots of players down to new deals, players like Rodri for example, and maybe a De Bruyne, and there is a little bit of space in midfield for City to bring someone like Musiala in, then I think City have to explore that and do everything they can to try and sign Jamal Musiala, because to me, I think he is the future. He is a player like Phil Foden that you can really build a new midfield, a new spine for Manchester City, because players are getting older. That average age of that squad for City is going up and up, so it needs bringing down. So you need to bring in high quality young players from the academy. You need the right amount of players inside the squad to provide competitive squad competition for the first team players. You also need to be having a look at some of the very best young players in the world. Your likes of your Florian Wirtz, your likes of your Musialas, and if there's space in the squad and City have got the backing and the money to do so, which they do, then they've got to try and make this signing happen. Not just because you don't want these world-class players going to rivals, but also Man City want to stay at the top of the football game and the top of the football pyramid, and to stay there, you've got to have the very best players. And to me, there's a little gap. Kevin De Bruyne doesn't sign a new deal and he walks away from Manchester City. Phil Foden can take over the reins there, but you've got ageing players like Kovacic, players like Bernardo Silva, players now who are going into their 30s, players who Manchester City over the next, realistically 2 seasons or so won't be at Manchester City. And the likes of Musiala, when they come available, you've just got to take your opportunity and grab it with both hands. To me, if City want a midfielder, Musiala has to be the player, and we've got the financial backing to make that signing happen. And if that means City not doing any more bits of business for the next summer, then so be it. We've not addressed it this summer in trying to bring in a midfielder who's young enough that we can build a squad around. And if that's the case, that we've not addressed it this summer, which we haven't, then next summer it does need addressing. And Musiala would be the player that I would be looking at. If not him, Florian Wirtz, question marks come. If it's not either of them, who's it going to be? Something does have to give for next summer. It's going to be a very interesting transfer window next summer. There we go. That has been today's transfer update. If you did enjoy this video, please do leave a thumbs up. 200 likes is the aim. Do let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Do subscribe if you're new around here. It is free to subscribe. Press that red button, press the bell, and put your push notifications on. Social media links, they're in the description if you want to go and follow me on my Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. Email also in the description too if you want to hit me up for any sponsorships or any videos or any general business inquiries. And finally, do go and check out today's video sponsor, which is brought to you by Sofascore. I'll see you all again very soon for the next Manchester City videos. We have the build-up towards Man City's opening game in the Champions League against Inter Milan at the Etihad Stadium. So I'll see you then. So I've been JSGC. Thank you everyone for watching. I hope everyone is safe and well. Peace. Ciao for now.